Deborah, if you can establish a form.
Everybody's present. Is everybody logged in?
Yes.
Okay, then we are good to move forward.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to set the agenda?
I make a motion to set the agenda.
Excellent. All right.
Online voting is now available.
Mine's on.
Not seeing it yet.
Oh, that was me.
There it is.
Of the,
That is unanimous, passes unanimously.
Okay, we will move on to our presentations. We are excited to have a presentation from the Mesa Elementary Girls on the Run program.
All right, so my name is Julie Engel. I've been doing this for a while. I don't know, just, I just. Oh, really? Yeah. I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm technically a running buddy. Deb Lehman's a coach. And Michelle LaPlaz is a coach. And we have Lisa Mendoza, who's not here, who's also a coach. And this program started in 1969, which is a long time ago. With one school, 13 girls. Next year was 26, then 75. Last year was over 2 million. And it was founded by an actual triathlete. She was also a teacher, and she was inspired by what she learned from running, and so she wanted to pass it on to other kids. We have 13 big program, ages 8 to 13. It's 12 weeks, which includes lessons within that. And it's designed to make friends, build confidence, and celebrate what makes each of our girls unique. It culminates in a 5K, which is a super cool experience. I do have a card inviting you guys that I will read in just a minute that a couple of our girls have made. But it has been proven that through research-based, that's what we're all about, right? Girls who are physically active have higher grades, better test scores, lower risk of dropping out, and a higher chance of attending college. So that's all great things. A couple of comments from some of our girls. What they like about Girls on the Run. I won't give names, but I'll just give the comments. One girl wrote, "I love Girls on the Run because it's not just about running, it's loving yourself for who you are. We've learned so much about how our words can affect others. I have learned about choosing friends. I like to run and to cheer other people on. I've learned that words can hurt." Just do a couple more. I've learned about friendship and being nice. I have learned social emotional words. I love making friends. I have learned to encourage others and making friendships, and also I have learned to be kind, and I have learned about emotions. And one girl said, "I've learned that I can run fast." And then our target by fall, it's on the 5th. It's in Durango. It's over at 3 Springs. You can eat at Taco Boy afterwards. They have really good Mexican food. It says, "Dear School Board, Girls on the Run of Mesa Elementary School would like for you to all join us at the 5K in Durango on November 5th, 2022. We would all really appreciate it if you could join us for this very special event. Sincerely, Girls on the Run, coaches and girls. P.S. Starts at 11, and there may be cookies at the end of the race." And then we have a couple of girls that would like to share with you guys what Girls on the Run, what they've learned, or something that's fun. So who would like to? Okay, Mia, go for it. You can go up front or you can stay there.
She's coming up front.
What I would like to tell you about Girls on the Run is how I have fun is we run, and I'm so excited for the 5K because I get to run with my friends, and I have lots of friends that encourage me to run, and I just love running so I can get out my energy. And also, what I would like to tell you about Girls on the Run, it's very fun because what I really like about Girls on the Run is the activities we get to do, the papers, and I like our counting laps. So we do beads, or we do marking, or we do something else. But that is my favorite part of Go on the Run. Hi, my name is Leslie, and I'm in third grade. And this is my first year of Girls on the Run. I love Girls on the Run because I realize it's not just about running, it's about loving yourself for who you are, making friends, and when I'm running, I realize I can run farther and faster. And I make new friends each and every time. My name is Emma, and the things I like about Girls on the Run are I like running, and I like cheering other girls on, and I like that it makes me feel happy when I run. The way it makes me feel is really fun. My name is Isabel. What I like about Girls on the Run is that I love the activities, and my favorite hobby is running, so I like Girls on the Run.
So good evening, board. I'm the site liaison for Girls on the Run. Basically, all I do is paperwork. The real work comes from my coaches, from my girls. It's been a great program, and I was honored to step into Miss Dean's shoes and make sure we kept it going. We do have a short little video clip that kind of goes into the focus of Girls on the Run, and just to give you guys some highlights. introduce myself as my principal pointed out. I'm Krista Croak, I'm the assistant principal at Mesa as well as liaison for girls. So. Our program.
And we do have another presentation for you. There's another program that we offer at Mesa. It's called Watchdog Dads. And if you can roll a PSA on that, Cameron, that'd be great. Still watching. So my name's Robert Lehman. I'm principal of Mesa Elementary School. We've had watchdog dads quite a while. I know when COVID hit, that really impacted us. Chris Castellanos here. He was one of our founding fathers. And he still comes back to help us because Izzy is still at Mesa. So we really love any male, 18 or over. I'm going to run a background on you to make sure that you're okay with my kids, because security is #1 priority. That's part of the having those watchdog dads here at Mesa, is it's a second set of eyes. They see something, you know, they'll let us know right away. And it's also to get positive male role models into the schools. And that's something that, you know, we've lacked for years and years and years. It is great. If you ever want to come, I can text you saying, I got a watchdog dad. Wait till you hear and read this book for the kindergartners. Without laughing and not being able to read it. So Chris, can you tell us something about what you got to experience?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, being able to go to school with your kid. When I was a kid, my parents only came to school when I was in trouble. So being able to kind of be there in a positive context, you get to, you know, see what the kids are learning, see what your kids learning, helping out the students really, you know, see somebody kind of struggling, or they'll ask you for help. They'll get to know them. You know, if you do it 2, 3, 4 times, you know, the kids, the teachers, everybody gets to know you. You kind of feel like, you know, really helping out. Just being involved with your own kid at school is it's pretty rewarding. You know, you tend to get into routines as a parent, and you never think about being at school with a kid. It's one of those things that there's only a small window of time that kids probably don't want. But at least at Mesa, it's a really lovely experience. Kids like it, teachers like it, I think. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a super good program, and yeah, the dads are, you know, and the adults that really want to participate. You don't have to have a kid there, you know, sign up and go out. Set eyes.
We also have Angela Martinez, who's been there.
It's a good program. Having adults interact with kids, each kid's different. They don't know what who they are in. So you give them folks from different types of jobs or trades, things like that, helps them kind of figure out maybe what they want to do as they're progressed through school.
And the neat thing about it is if you ever walk into Walmart or Safeway or City Market and the kid recognizes you, you get mugged really quick. And then you have to explain to the parent, oh, I'm a watchdog dad at Mesa. And that's really, really neat to see. So those are some of the things that we offer at Mesa.
How many watchdog dads do you have? And then I was wondering, how many girls on the run do you have?
We have 11 watchdog dads now that have been cleared. We do background checks every year. Good to start.
What's the exact number?
15?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. If you guys want to come over that 5K, we had 800 runners last year. It's a pretty cool event, honestly.
So is watchdog, that's something every day or? No, I mean, is it, do you have people in every day coming in? or-
Yeah.
When parents are available.
So different ones all the time.
Yeah, and it's, what is a dog? It's a dad of great students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Any other questions? All right, girls, thank you for coming in and presenting to us. All right, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the September 20th, 2022 board meeting?
I make a motion to accept the
Second,
minutes.
I'll second.
Online voting is available. It passes unanimously. Good.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes of the October 4th and the 20th, 2022 special board meetings.
I make a motion that we accept the October 4th, 2022 special board meeting.
Second.
Online voting is now available. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, so we will move right on to reports. On the first report, celebration reports. Do we have some celebration reports?
Oh, I do.
Yep. We do.
It's a rare pleasure to give a certificate to a student, one of our students, who has attained the golf champion of the state for 3A. They're fluke. Congratulations again, buddy.
Thank you.
Good job.
Great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Buddy. With Mr. Burke.
They want to get a picture.
Oh, okay. Absolutely.
Thank you. Congrats there.
Thank you.
There.
Thank you.
And you have something else at 7 o'clock, so I got you out of here in plenty of time.
Yes.
You're welcome. I worked on it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay,
All right.
more celebration reports. I don't know if anybody got to see the last home football game and the senior night, but that was a Whoa.
Now, Mark.
34-35. Yeah, but good game to watch. It was a very good game. I think we do have some of our theater coming up soon. So be looking for some of those announcements. So those kids put in a lot of effort and time to make those happen, and they're amazing. So.
President Noyes, I know we're past homecoming, but I think we should celebrate that after homecoming, it was announced that the Rice's business won the decoration contest through the chamber.
Congratulations.
From the businesses this year.
Nice.
It's fun.
Good job.
I just directed it all.
Well, and our softball team went to regionals. Sadly, they got beat, but they played hard and had a great season. I saw where the I can't remember his first name. Johnson is his last name. The Devo boy, Max, won the biking last weekend. That young man's been quite accomplished in that. So the band I didn't even hear how they did it.
They're going to regionals tomorrow. Thursday. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, Marla said Inspire program, that was fun high school performance last week. Was outstanding.
Yes, they did. She
It was
does
a packed house with like people standing in the aisles and stuff.
Oh, wow.
does a great job.
All right then. Okay, so I think that's going to be in Mr. report. Okay. Report item B, the superintendent's report.
Madam President, my report's in your packet. I'll let you go through that. If you have any questions, I'm just going to highlight a couple of things. Mr. Eddie Ramirez, our new assistant superintendent, is here tonight. Welcome, Eddie. Thank you. Compared to last Monday, so today is his. All right. Student attendance, I would like to thank Cody Wells, Ed Rice, and Sherry Wright for coming to the attendance meeting today. It was long and hard, but we're working very hard on student attendance. I did follow up with an email with you guys about how many students are over like 15 absences and so forth. And I think we are doing some good. It looks good. Tonight you will work on the DAC leadership and how that makeup looks. And we also this Thursday and next Thursday, Linda Paul will be doing what she calls calibration training. What it is evaluation training for the principals. It's another piece of this. If we're going to have curriculum alignment, we need to know what that looks like in the classroom and what good teaching looks like in the classroom. And that's where we're going to go. I'm excited to be with you guys to do that. I've been through this several times and it's really quite challenging but a lot of fun. But thank you. And if you have any other questions, let me know.
I'd like to say thank you to the farm to school for giving us that report.
Right.
It answered a lot of the questions we had.
Good. Right. Thank you.
All right, I guess moving on to report C, the executive director of finance report. Kyle.
Good evening, board president, board members, superintendent, community. My report really consists of a lot of action items that are later, so we'll discuss them there. One thing I do want to mention, the practice field capital requests, we've got some information in the last 4 days since I submitted my report. So we'll discuss that, but there has been some changes there. And I went to Casbo last week. Just a couple things that I think are important, and I'll probably bring further reports, presentations on them, is the mill levy override. Learned some pretty highlighted information showing the disparity across the state and districts that have it and districts that don't. And it's created kind of a gap to where the districts that don't aren't going to, and the districts that are continue to raise their mill levies. So interesting information to see. But I said I'll bring some more information in a presentation at a later time. And then also the Colorado Preschool program, which serves our preschool students, is changing. There's a whole new division up at Colorado Department of Education called Universal Pre-K. And it's going to change the way we receive funding for those students. And it's also going to change the hours, and there's going to be some different criteria. Right now, every student gets 10 hours if they're a 3 or 4 year old, but if they have IPs or different things of that nature, they may qualify for more hours. That isn't set in stone yet. They're still trying to nail out the details, but January, February timeframe is what we're expecting to hear more about that. So other than that, if there's any questions.
Are you in the middle of your audit right now?
Yes, so we I've provided 70% of the information to our auditor. They're reviewing it, going through, going back and forth. I feel like we're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
we have our charter schools too, because we're responsible for audit as well. EVA's had some change in their financial leadership over there, so I'm just paying them a little more attention to that this year. Should we go over there? Everything seems to be going well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Okay, report D, the Executive Director of Student Academic Services.
Evening, board. So this evening, if you have any questions about my report, it was very brief. I'm happy to answer those questions. The things that I touched on, again, I continue to include information about data, performance data, et cetera, as we go forward, so that you'll always see the school performance frameworks within that report. Those are areas that we continue to focus on and work on. And the couple of items I touched on in my report were, I'll start with the second item, which is again our district accountability committee, which Mr. Burris referred to. We'll be looking at the structure of that in this meeting, but also just a recap of our previous meeting where we reviewed the charter application from the Pleasant View group. Mr. Director Beck reviewed the district budget and timeline. And then again, we discussed the structure of that committee. So those are the highlights from that last DAC meeting. As we move forward, there will probably and most likely be a representative from that meeting here to kind of give you the rundown of what that looks like. The big item that I am here to discuss this evening with you and our principals as well is unified improvement plans for the district. Just for a quick overview, annually, each school as well as the district is required to submit a unified improvement plan to the state of Colorado, highlighting areas of need and areas that we are working on. So in the past, the scheduling for that has kind of been a little all over the place. If anybody's been around to experience that before, sometimes you had them in December, sometimes you'd get them in January, some would be in late spring. But the state has changed their rules on that, and now across the state, all unified improvement plans are due on the 25th of October for everybody. There's no exceptions any longer. We as a district team are here to present our district UIP and individual school UIPs as well. So everybody basically has what's called the executive summary, and you should have had that in your packets as well. And that's just a high level view of the things that are highlighted within the unified improvement. Like I said, each school has one. It's usually tied to like their 90-day plans and goals that they have. And our district one is also tied to some of the strategic planning that we did earlier in the summer. So I'll just highlight a few things that we have put in our unified improvement plan for improvement. Major improvement strategy, the tier 1 instruction. for improvement of ELA and math instruction. There's some details in here. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time going into that, because you guys can read that if you have any questions. Community engagement and valuing of education, those are areas that we continue to work on and were highlighted in our strategic plan. Staff recruitment, retention, and well-being, always going to be an area of focus that we will continue to work on. Again, ensuring academic excellence in all schools and improving Tier 1 instruction, building a strong team of effective educators and enhanced support for principals that you're seeing, or what Mr. Burris was referring to coming up beginning this week, where we're going to do some calibrating of evaluations so that, for example, a couple of principals can go into a building or go into a classroom and both walk out and be able to compare notes on what they saw. And ideally, we're looking for the same thing. So that's kind of the idea behind it, so that we're all kind of moving in the same direction on this observation. Again, continuing, ensuring academic excellence, again, aligning strategies for dropout/graduation. More building of a team of effective educators, again, with observation and feedback to teachers. That's one of the best tools, is being able to talk to a teacher about how things have gone in their classroom. Ensuring academic excellence in all schools. This is semester improvement planning. This formerly, you were probably familiar with it, but it was formerly called 90-day planning. But we found that given the nature of our calendar this year, halfway through the year was about 73.5 days. So it became more of a half of a year plan or a semester plan versus a 90-day plan, because we run out of time if we're trying to do 90-day plans. So, and then what some folks participated in today, student attendance, and trying to improve that, because we know that if we can't get them into the building, it's a little hard to move them along with growth in academics. So those are the high level areas that we've looked at. So if you have any questions about those, please don't hesitate to ask now or in the future at any time. These plans will be submitted to CDE by next week, and they will be publicly available on SchoolView, which is on the CDE website, where anyone can access and have a look. So what I'm going to do now is let my principals take over, because they're going to present their individual school executive summaries, so that you get an idea of what they've got going on. So we'll start with.
Let's turn this down. Hello, board. So I actually would like to go in reverse from our executive summary, because I'd like to start with the problems and then what we're doing about it. So the three main problems we're looking at this year are student achievement, student learning, student engagement, and post-secondary readiness. So we're looking at our PSAT and SAT rates, which continue to lag behind state averages. Our math scores are far behind state averages, while our English scores are behind, but not as much. We have academic growth gaps when you actually dig into the data amongst different groups of students. So we have students that are at free or reduced lunch. Our minority students, students with disabilities, typically don't perform as well as their peers, which is a huge area of concern. And then all of this is tied to graduation rates. So I brought this up at a previous meeting, but you know, since COVID, we've really seen a lack of engagement in our students, a lack of interest, a lack of buy-in. Some of that is to be expected, but some of that is something that we are trying to combat through like getting on kids about cell phones, really working on a climate and culture, and trying to improve our instructional practices. So those are the three areas that we're in our 90-day plan, are also in our UIP. Some of the causes of this that we're really targeting this year are freshman performance is a big one. We've been doing research over the last 2 years and discovered that our freshmen have an incredibly difficult transition to high school. This is not an MCHS problem. This is a nationwide problem that has been studied. There's all sorts of programming that's available out there, but we have definitely seen this trend at our high school. And what ends up happening is there's a bit of a bottleneck. So like if our students at the freshman level are disengaged, unsure how to access academic supports, are failing at a high rate, it just compounds the problem as they continue, because then they're making up more classes that they failed their freshman year, and then they're needing to recover credit, they're behind in graduation, and it feeds all the way up into their graduation grades. So we really want to focus on freshman success, both through things like the Panther Cup that I mentioned previously, but also really providing them more support through homeroom and through their core classes. We actually just today had a student success coach and coordinator begin at the high school. So he is primarily, his name's Eric Cheever. He's primarily going to be focused on freshman success at our homeroom program. We are really working with our teachers on developing skills so that they can differentiate their instruction more for our English language learners or students that are reading below grade level. It's going to be a multi-year approach, but that is what we're seeing on our PSAT scores. So that's something that we're trying to invest in on those PLC days by bringing in experts, doing book studies, this kind of stuff. I mentioned in the previous meeting the lack of engagement in school and lack of feeling like students belong at the school, and trying to implement the Panther Cup program and getting students more involved in extracurriculars so that they have that additional level of investment in the school. And then post-secondary readiness, we're really trying to increase the understanding of our homeroom program so that students are being exposed to career opportunities as well as post-secondary opportunities like college through explorations during the school day so that they have a goal for when they get done with high school. And so some of the things that I just mentioned, we're really looking closely at the kind of courses that we offer at MCHS and making sure that we are meeting the needs of the students that we have. That might involve differentiating some of our classes and having classes that meet different student needs. We're really trying to work on staff engagement and improve school culture by listening to teachers and hearing what kind of PD they want to see and what kind of professional development they'd like to engage in. I mentioned homeroom as being a main focus of post-secondary readiness. Again, our new freshman success coordinator will really be focusing on homeroom school-wide. And we are phasing out the Acellus program, but we're having conversations with our leadership team about if we do phase out Acellus, how do we, one, make sure that we have more students passing their classes on the front end so that they're not in need of better recovery? And then how do we still have a program that if there are students that come in with weird credit problems because they're transferring in from another school district, there's always a need for some sort of fill in the gap programming, but what would that look like? What's the most effective option? What's the best research-based option? So I believe they're one of the main areas of focus. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Not right now.
Thank you, Emily.
Okay, Mr. Pierce.
Board, Superintendent. My UIP, this was an interesting year. This is my first year to really actually review data from the entire school where we've been tested as we dug into this. So it was very eye-opening to me. I feel like, to be frank, there's a game to be played with our state testing, and I got to learn it a little bit more this year. In looking at it, just brass tacks where we were last year, we were on a turnaround. That was our rating. It was tagged with a low participation rating, which kind of says that part of the reasoning for that was we had an insufficient number of students who tested. In looking at that, it was challenging to build out some of those goals because the kids that were testing are compared to 2019 and not a single one of them was there in 2019 when they were tested. So we're being compared against a completely different group. So I really just had to focus on what are the priorities and what are the big things that are very evident across the board. And honestly, that comes down to behavior and just academics. And so when I looked at this, you can see pretty consistently, if you look at our state report, our growth and achievement across the board they're well below average. As Emily mentioned, our middle schoolers are going up to high school and they're not ready. We're seeing the same thing. And that honestly stems from the fact that our kids are coming in developmentally delayed. They're just not quite there from the beginning. And so from the very beginning, we're playing catch up in this community. And so what we have to see is that our growth is above that 50th percentile. It actually has to probably be in about that 70th percentile to close the gaps that we have for achievement to see our kids be where we are. So looking at that, I really focused at, okay, where are our biggest priorities? For us, the thing that we talked about with our leadership team, and one of our goals is really reducing behavioral disruptions. So much of our instructional time has been diminished because we're just dealing with behaviors and it robs from our time. And so we put a strong focus into removing behavioral disruptions. We've looked at we're doing a book study. We're really working on, over the summer, we worked on our handbook and just really reinforcing our school expectations and consistency there. And then we're doing a lot of coaching in the classroom. I'm very grateful this year to have a complete staff where I actually can get into classrooms, not to be supportive teachers. And so I think that that's been a great thing. We've seen an improvement. That's one of the top priorities. The second one has honestly been for us Tier 1 instruction. Of our 24 core content teachers, I think 5 of them have been here 5 years or more. So as we look at that, we really just have to, not that they're not great teachers, but they're young and they're new in this community. And over those past 4 years, how many of them have been significantly impacted because of COVID? And so we're really getting the first opportunity to have clear, undistracted instruction. And so again, it goes to our intentions of really reinforcing that Tier 1 instruction. How do we support our teachers to build out effective lesson plans, which is something we discussed, Mr. Burris discussed, and then just those high leverage pieces of how are we using data to close those achievement gaps. So that Tier 1 instruction has to be rigorous. We talked with CDE when they were here. Andy Swanson targeted the idea that because our kids are so low, a lot of our time is spent scaffolding at a level that really is remediation, and they're not being engaged with grade level content. And so we're having to learn how to be able to have our kids be in front of grade level content and scaffold them up to the level where they're engaging that, but still being able to fill those gaps of remediation. So that's a challenge. So that's one of our second goals. And the third one, honestly, is just reflective of this, and it's a district goal, and that is participation. We have tremendous attendance issues, and we'd be remiss if we didn't look at that as a significant impact on our learning. Obviously, it was an impact on our testing alone because we didn't have enough numbers to be able to do it. But that's reflective of our entire system. And so that's one of the goals that we put in there, is just how do we continue to support attendance. Mr. Burris obviously has been working on that pretty thoroughly at the district level. And so we're supporting that at the school level. I didn't put it in my UIP. One of our semester plans is really focusing on also how do we, in addition to having that Tier 1 instruction really be robust, is how do we supplement that and plug in interventions that are targeted for our students. And so we have about a 37-minute intervention time at the end of the day. We're really looking at how we can get students engaged with targeted stuff at their level. So we're looking at programs, differentiating, doing leveling and things like that, where we can support kids where they are to close those gaps outside of Tier 1 instruction time. The other thing that's really been a high priority for us that we've been unable to feel is looking at targeted interventions from interventionists, where we can pull kids out and do just small 20 to 30-minute RTI interventions. That's been a staffing issue, frankly speaking. We haven't been able to fill those, and so that's still a goal of ours. But those are some of the things that we're looking at, but it's not anything revolutionary here. The reality is that we just have to shore up our instruction and leverage every minute that we have to close the gap with our students. So that's ultimately what my goals come down to. Couldn't target too much really specifically because, as I said, it's a completely different data set. Any questions?
I have a question real fast. How many times have you been in the classroom this year?
I looked at our observations for the first semester, and I don't know specifically.
Yeah, you personally.
I couldn't answer that specifically. What I can say is between the 3 administrators in the first quarter, we got into classrooms and did over about 50 some observations. Last year, I would be surprised if we did half that throughout the entire year. Outside
Kind of where I'm going with that is, last year we were like, we're pretty much relying on substitutes for tons of the classrooms. You know, anytime I got called into sub, I think you were sub. Have you had that kind of issue?
I haven't had this at a single time this year. We've had a few.
Different issues that we're looking at. How that's not one of the most significant is, you know, when I was subbing in front of a classroom, you know, I think it was great that I was there, but those kids don't learn. You know, it was me doing the best I can to keep those kids contained and good, but I'm not a teacher. You know what I mean? Anytime we're having that kind of significant issue, I don't think there's going to be any chance for those
I agree wholeheartedly, and it's been a huge blessing. I mean, I think that throughout our staff, this is a completely different year than it was last year. I mean, turnaround is a very urgent and very concerning mark, but at the same time, I have a lot of hope because of the fact that we do have so many of those things that were lacking last year. And I think that this was a good baseline for the students that we have. So I would agree wholeheartedly. Thank you for coming in. That meant a lot to us. Any other questions?
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
Thanks, Drew.
Layman.
I would like to say thank you to everyone who's here today and the school board for supporting it and our central administration staff. You guys have been great in helping us. We are also in a turnaround, and I would like to say thanks, Drew, for doing everything for me, because basically it's a ditto type situation for us. So we looked at basically what can Mesa do? As you guys know, we have taken 2 campuses, merged them into one, 2 sets of data, and we need to create something that's going to work for both the Manaus students and our old Mesa students. We are now 1 campus. We are 1 family. And when my assistant principal, Crystal Croak, and I address any issue with the child, it's not, you're them, or, it's us and them. It's like, no, we're 1 family. So I just want to let you know that that's something that we have been working on in our priority improvement plan, because that trauma that some of those kids came to us with, it's pretty dramatic. There's a handful of kids that still need some coaching, but we're going to take care of it. We're going to improve on our math. We have a math interventionist that is working in the halls. We have tables. We have kids working on the floor. We have interventionists, and part of our interventions just left. They are the Girls on the Run coaches. We're going to improve on our language arts. We have texts that are being scaffolded to our students at grade level. As you guys know, that if we teach them down here and the test material is way up here, we need to have that addressed. So we're giving them that kind of exposure. We also took a look at, all right, so is it tier 1 instruction? Is it tier 2? Is it tier 3? We can't play that anymore because it's every tier. We have our kids that are in special ed that need to have that kind of exposure too. They don't get a different test unless they're a COBOL. They're getting the same test as everyone else. And we're giving those kids that kind of exposure that they need. So we're addressing every tier, because we can make growth, we can get off the clock. And that's our agenda right now. We've been working with Jim Parr, Andy Swanson, and Dr. Bill Snow to take a look at our data and say, this is what we need to work on. What strand are we being tested on? And taking that next step and looking at all the curriculum, the math, the ELA, and saying, how can we make this work to get us off the clock? Strategies, we're working every day. I've got a great interventionist crew. Drew Pearson. His wife is amazing. She could probably run this government, the United States government. And with her intervention crew, the progress monitoring they're doing, I mean, it's just insane. We're going to hopefully get some data next week that says, how are these kids growing? I'm going to throw my wife underneath the bus. Mrs. Lehman, you said you had how many kids make growth in math after your progress monitoring?
20.
Out of how many did you say?
26.
20 out of 26. So we still have to look at those 6 kids, right? And that's what our intervention team's doing. Like I said, we're working on backwards planning. Bruce, thank you. That's making a difference. It will make a difference. We have kids that come in to Mesa with hardly any vocabulary, and we're trying to expose them to rigorous texts that have colorful vocabulary, because you guys you haven't seen a CMAS test, and Wayne, I know you've seen the ones from New Mexico. They are asking some questions, and if our kids aren't at that level and ready for it, we're not going to see the growth. We might see it, but we need the growth from all of our students in every subcategory to get us off this clock. Discipline, attendance, verse. What's the motto? Anyone has any questions? From a
Come see
parent?
me.
It's really making a difference. We've had Pinion Project come in to assist us with kids today. And that was really nice to see. I had a young gentleman who was not behaving in class. And they stepped in and said, hey, this is not how we act with Mesa. And I was really impressed with them. But we are addressing, discipline with kids. We're doing the best we can, and with the help of everyone here, it's making a difference. And even the parents that are in this group right here helping us out. Jim, I do use you quite a bit because I have a lot of baseball players. So, your coach is going to want to see academic excellence, and that's what we're approaching our kids with. Minority reduced subgroups are another concern that we have, and we're looking at what their needs are. And it's, like I said, we have a great intervention team. Math, like I said, it's in the halls. Come in. You guys want to see it? It's in action. It's great. I'm going to turn this next part over to my assistant principal, Crystal Crow. She runs our MTSS, multi-tiered system to get these kids what they need, and she'll talk about SIPs, which is a cool program. I'm by. So I'm going to turn it over to Crystal.
So when he says I run it, that's very loosely stated. Again, thank you, Drew. I have an amazing team. Yeah. I'm very, very blessed. I have an amazing team of interventionists, school social worker, Candace White. And we have been working on our MPSF program at Mesa for the last 2.5, 3+ years. Where we are systematically working with the teachers and identifying student needs and where they fall. Do they need to go to ESS, get more supports? Do they need special interventions? Candace White focuses on the behavioral side of things. And so between the three of us, we are really hitting every component of the whole child. And that's what our goal is. Emily is a guru of all things data. So when students are being put into interventions, when they're being put into ESS or going through the pipeline for whatever direction they need, it's not a 4-week or 6-week or 8-week turnaround. We're getting data every 2 weeks, looking at these kids, and are we making the right choices and where are the gaps? For SIPs, I believe I talked about it probably this time last year. It's our systematic instruction in phoneme awareness, phonics, and sight words. We introduced it January of this year, and within just 8 weeks of benchmark testing, we're able to see huge growth with the student population that we had at that time. As Mr. Lehman said, we have combined 2 schools, and there's been a lot of growth opportunities. And with the interventions team and with our MTSS processes, we are starting to collect further data to see if we are making growth. And we are seeing it in STAR data. We are seeing it in DIBELS. Small in some areas, but we are making growth. So I am optimistic with what we saw in January to the end of school year, that with all of our kiddos, we're going to be able to cover as many needs and gaps that these kiddos have as possible. I have a phenomenal team all the way around, and that's what makes Mesa work the way they do, is because we're all in. So, any questions?
Do you guys have any questions for us? And if you do, please let us know. Please come by me, so the doors are open.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'll also kind of start backward of looking at our CMAS data. We missed improvement rating by 1 percentage point last year. And so looking at that CMAS data, we don't have the same kids, kind of like Mr. Clifton was talking about. We did inherit some NOS students too. And so really looking at the benchmark at the beginning of the year with DIBELS and STAR. And looking at like 60% of our kids are coming in below grade level. And so really taking this data of where our students are currently
and create a plan of how to get them to where they need to be. With a lot of that stuff, we're looking at specifically a third grade strategic plan. That grade has a high number of like 65 on average kids coming in below grade level. And so we're really looking at that grade level differently to create different supports and stuff as we go through. But a lot of the things that we're doing are very similar to the other principles in their reports, the tier 1 instruction and tier 1 behavior. Tier 1 instruction, right now we're really looking at common lesson plans, looking at our new benchmark curriculum, looking at that program and seeing compared to the power standards on CMAS, making sure that's aligned. Where do we need a supplement? How can we take CMAS questions and implement that in the program to make sure that our kids are being challenged and presented different information. But also tier 1 behavior school-wide, we use a tiered response protocol to make sure all adults are responding consistently to behaviors. We define those behaviors as a staff, what it looks like, what it sounds like, because our definitions of behaviors were very different. Like, what does insignificant look like? What does disrespect look like? But we all came to common definitions, so we're all responding consistently throughout the building. The tier 1 instruction, like I said, we're seeing a significant gap across the board in both ELA and math. We are working also with Dr. Billy Snow to look at a data-driven cycle with our staff of how we look at that weekly, but also on a bi-weekly basis with those Fridays. He came in and did a great professional development for my team, and just really looking at day-to-day data to change the instruction for the next day. We also revamped our intervention block. We have a 60-minute block for all students to really focus on lagging skills and really target those, and it's based off weekly data. Students do rotate amongst classrooms, and then we flood students with significant lagging skills, but then also that gives our GT teachers that we have at each level a chance to differentiate on the other end with junior GT kiddos and students who need to be kind of pushed in a different way. Other than that is where we're at. Do you guys have any questions for me?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Well, by the time I get up, I can just say ditto, ditto. And I'm the principal at Lewis and Pleasant View. Have a good evening. So I think that, the main difference, as you guys are all aware of, is I have 2 schools that are much smaller than the schools in town. I think that gives us a lot of benefits being small size like that. But then we also have some challenges too, because if I have 2 kids that aren't performing where we needed to, it really throws our numbers off. It skews it because that end size is so small. Case in point, Pleasant View doesn't even report out the CMAS data this year because they didn't have the numbers test. It wasn't that the kids didn't test, it's just a small number of grade 3, 4, and 5. So I can look at their data individually and see that we definitely had some gaps in the 3 through 5 classroom that was tested. So we're working on that. It's kind of a separate thing for that school right now, especially given that we don't have a teacher in that classroom. We're still long-term in that 3 through 5 with 2 long-term subs. But in general, we often look at Lewis and Pleasant View as sister schools with similar needs because our teachers do plan together when they've got that planning time. So when we have time, they will come down and try and align curriculum and practices with the Lewis staff. So again, kind of a double-edged sword. Our strength is that we're small, and the numbers can impact the overall data when we have a couple of kids that are struggling. The main 3 goals, the umbrella is just what, most everybody said, English, ELA, math, and we did choose to work on attendance this year to piggyback off of the district. Lewis had, I think it was 36% of their students last year missed 10 or more days. So it was something that we definitely, there's lots of reasons why, but we wanted to target that this year as well. some simple things that we implemented that we weren't doing. We didn't have the robocalls out there because the prior secretary wanted to make those phone calls personally every day to parents. So that never got implemented, but the current secretary that we have right now is also the nurse. I mean, there's just lots of things put on her. So we started the robocalls and that has been a tremendous success for us. We have parents coming in, actually talking to the secretary, saying what's going on. So we're able to code things correctly and get that taken care of. She's able to say, we need a doctor's note or we need this. So that's helped quite a bit already. So we've got the robocalls going and then our secretary is calling home right after those between 9 and 9:30. So again, just that personal touch that we're able to offer because we are small and such a small community. So we're already seeing a lot of growth in the attendance rate. And I think just piggybacking off the system that the district has put in place. I've got, pretty good communication with my parents, which was one of my growth things I wanted to work on last year. And we were very successful with that. When I put out a newsletter on a Sunday night before I go to bed, a half an hour later, I've got 100 kids that it was already read. So parents look for that. They know that that's how we communicate. And so we're able to get that attendance situation taken care of. The other things that we're doing with our CMAS data that we had from Lewis is we were still performance category with, poor attendance again, or low attendance, which was the same as 2019. So while I can't compare students from 2019 to now, I can, in looking at last or 2 years ago data, just the hit or miss, we're pretty stable with instruction. We've got some good scores. We have a consistent staff. Again, we're really small and that's our advantage. We don't do the horizontal alignment per se that the bigger schools do in town, but we are constantly working on vertical alignment. So conversation coming up on the 28th between 4th and 5th is this is when I need your kids to come in. This is what this looks like. So we're addressing that CMAS data in ELA where we saw some dips last year. Very happy to see the math data that we had. We've been pushing really hard with math. As a lot of that was my background being a math teacher. So implementing number talks, looking at how to increase number sense in kids, especially the little ones. So my focus this year, like if you're in the building looking for me, and I know Mr. Barr was in a couple of weeks ago and I'm down in kinder and first grade and second grade. So we're really pushing in those lower grades for behaviors, number one, interventions, and then just really spotting those kids that are doing well and moving them as far as we can. The other thing that we're very lucky to have this year to kind of address some of these goals is through the ESSER funds. We were able to get a counselor and I was able to bring back a retired teacher to help with math interventions, which we've never had out there per se. I would go out as the GT coordinator and work with kids. So I have a retired teacher coming in 2 days a week through ESSER funds. So thank you, thank you HR for allowing me to do that. Grants. That's really meeting a lot of that tier 1 need that teachers talk about, just having that counselor in. And it's freeing me up, like Mr. Pearson was saying, I'm in classrooms every day all morning. So I think that's about it. I mean, again, you can read the details on some of the things that we're looking at, just curriculum, a lot of vertical alignment. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, principals. So in addition, in your packet, you will have UIP reports from SWOS, Battle Rock, and Kiva. They're not here to discuss those, but you can have a look at those. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and we'll find answers to those. I want to personally thank and commend our principals. I hope you got a taste of the things that are going on in the buildings and really the hard work and focus that they're putting into this so that we do have some turnaround opportunities and they're taking advantage of those. Something that I think is an opportunity for us this year is that we do have a chance to grow. And because of how data has come out in the last few years, this is kind of a baseline situation that we've had in the last year or so. And now we have a chance to just kind of jump up and show some movement. So it's very exciting from that regard. And you can tell these guys are really taking that seriously and working with a sense of urgency to make those things happen. So I appreciate all their hard work. I appreciate our SWO's leadership or our our charter leadership for everybody completing this particular report right now. This is a load. This is a big lift to have to deal with this unified improvement plan at this point in the year. Yes, it makes sense that it's done early in the year because it's a part of planning for the year, but it's also, you know, what it takes to get a school off the ground in the beginning of the year and then to turn around and have to start doing reporting for the state is challenging. So I commend them and I appreciate the work that they put in. And so that's our UIP presentation for the year. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. All right, so we will move to the Executive Director of Human Resources report, Seldridge.
Good evening, Board, Madam President and Superintendent. Thank you for the opportunity to present my report to you, which I have submitted electronically for you. After you've spent many hours hearing all of the insurance objectives, suggestions, now it's turned over to my side, and I will be working continuously through the end of the year for the implementation process. Currently, I am reviewing contracts, updating information, and preparing for open enrollment at the end of this month. Our USI team and Anthem team will be arriving on the 26th, and we are scheduling in-person meetings for all campuses and areas. There'll be approximately an hour to an hour and a half meetings with each school and each campus to start providing all of the information and roll out for all of the employees. I'm really excited benefits that we're offering and the professionalism that USI will be bringing to the table. With that, American Fidelity has sent notifications out to all staff who currently have supplemental insurance policies with them, notifying them that if they want to continue those policies, that they can do so on their own. However, I'm letting them know that before they make that decision, that they need to review Anthem supplemental policies and do price checks to see which one offers the best policy for the best price. Unfortunately, American Fidelity has been with the district for many years. However, this will provide all of our employees the option of a new and improved policy for supplemental insurance. I wanted to let you know the status of the family opt-out process. We've currently notified our employees of the second phase that it was voted to opt out of this. Posters have been put up on all of the campuses, letting them know what really the details of it are. And the next step is to register with the employer system once it has been up and running. It's still in the process of, I think through November, I think they'll have it all ready to register, and then we can submit our information that we are opting out. Moving on to HR updates. As we've been working closely with BOCES and their HR department in regards to our HR data pipeline information and our licensed ESS staff. BOCES reports all of our ESS staff on their HR data pipeline report. And so we work closely to make sure that our ESS staff are licensed where they need to be, and if not, what needs to be done. So in preparation of the upcoming report process, BOCES HR staff and I are working together to make sure that this is all ready to go. As superintendent announced, we conducted interviews for the assistant superintendent, and have hired Mr. Ramirez. I do believe he will be an asset to the district, and I'm very grateful that he is here to take over several duties.
Yes.
I want to skip down to the quarterly workers' compensation review meeting that I attended recently. We still have 3 open active stop loss claims, lost time accidents claims, 2 of which are no longer employed with the district, that have reached substantial amounts. And in reviewing those claims, it's determined that Montezuma-Cortez School District needs to increase our risk management plan and our loss control procedures. So Mr. Marlon Buse with Copper Point will be coming to the district in November, I believe on the 16th, to review our plan and assist us in initiating a much more stringent risk management plan. And this is something that I have suggested that we do for the last 6 months. And so I'm very encouraged that they are going to take the time to come to our district and do that for us. I have provided you with a list of current openings within the district. This was updated last Thursday, and since that time, there's been several changes. So just so you know, this is an ongoing process. We're doing our very best and being very diligent in advertising, recruiting, interviewing, and selecting individuals to work and fill the positions that we have open. At the same time, there are still several individuals who are leaving the district. Turnover is continuing, and we are doing our very best to try to retain individuals, and with salary structures and increased benefits and improving culture. There's still a lot of work to do, but we are very diligent that we are doing everything we possibly can. If you have any questions.
On that current openings, was it in our favor or not?
Well, I think last month there was over 30, so we reduced that amount substantially, and we've hired several key positions. We just made an offer to a 3rd grade teacher at Kemper to fill that opening. I'm excited for that. However, we had a resignation received yesterday for a 2nd grade teacher at Mesa, so it's back and forth. We're doing our very best.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any board reports or requests at this time? All right. Okay, let's move to citizens address the boards.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
I'll get one more, Sherry.
Okay, Judy Schoenemeyer.
They don't even know. Good evening. First, I want to thank you for the discussion that I understand you had in your earlier meeting this month about student performance. I understand it was a robust discussion, and I'm pleased to hear that. Second, as a retired attorney, I feel an obligation to let you know that words were omitted when the section of the state sunshine law was read to you last month. Those words are whichever is fewer. The section in full says all meetings of a quorum of 3 or more members of any local public body, whichever is fewer, at which any public business is discussed, or at which any formal action may be taken are declared to be public meetings open to the public at all times. Quorum for this board is 4, so 3 is obviously less. Don't take my word for it. I think at least 4 of you have copies of this Colorado School Law. On page 743 in the right-hand column to be, you can find that. You can legally meet in groups of 2, but this isn't about numbers. It's about the public knowing what's being discussed. And when I go back over your minutes, I see motions passed with no discussion happening before motions are passed. That bothers me because I don't know if you don't care to have a discussion. What I think is happening is the discussions are happening in private, and that should not be happening because you've said you want to be transparent, and you can't be transparent if you're not discussing things in public. So we all know what you're talking about. Student education, safety, and welfare are the public business of schools. And everybody in our community needs to know what you're talking about when it comes to those things. I encourage you to support students who are doing well. You have celebrations at every one of your meetings. I haven't found anything celebrating student achievement. I hope that will happen when the time comes for honor roll students, that the number of students from each school can be reported to the board and that you'll celebrate that. Or if there are other academic achievements. I also urge you to discuss what's being done for struggling students. We heard all these presentations. It's clear that the principals and our teachers, other staff are working very hard and they need to be supported. You all know who are teachers that it's important to know that the board supports you. I also hope you'll publicly recognize and support the staff who are really working hard to help our struggling students, because you know how hard it is if you've been a teacher. Jack has some handouts that I found about open meetings law. They're from the Legislative Legal Counsel. It's a summary. So you can each have one, this is what it says.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Okay. Okay, next we have Reese Albury.
Hello, my name is Reese Alvarez.
Oh, sorry, Alvarez. I said Albury.
That's
Sorry.
okay. I'm the youth pastor at Lighthouse Baptist Church, as well as a volunteer football coach for the Panthers varsity team. This is my first year of involvement in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I came here tonight to present a logical plea to reinstate FCA and student-led clubs during lunch hour. We do not come here tonight without constitutional evidence that supports student-led clubs. The Equal Access Act, passed in 1984 and upheld as constitutional in 1990, makes it, quote, unlawful for any public secondary school that receives federal funds and which has a limited open forum to deny any student who wishes to conduct a meeting within that limited forum on the basis of religious, political, philosophical, or other content of the speech at such meeting. Not only are student-led meetings a constitutional right, but they promote leadership, teamwork, and initiative, all of which one needs to excel in life. I understand that having student-led meetings meet at lunch presents a wide range of challenges. It would be the easiest thing to do to move them to after school or before school. However, the path of least resistance is seldom, if ever, the right path. It was not easy for the Pilgrims to board the Mayflower 402 years ago in search of a new life, but we're glad they did. It was not easy for the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence to risk their lives for America's freedom from England, but we're glad they did. And it was not easy for Rosa Parks to stay in her seat on the Montgomery bus and pave the way for African-American freedoms, but we're glad that she did. And it will not be the easy thing to do to reinstate student-led meetings at lunchtime. We're not asking you to make the easy choice. We're asking you to make the right choice. Author and psychologist Jordan Peterson once said, "Conflict delayed is conflict multiplied." By eradicating clubs, you are delaying conflict, which will lead to substantially greater conflict. Please do not make the easy choice. Make the choice in favor of freedom, in favor of the Constitution, and in favor of the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Reese. Janice? Grassy? Okay, I was fine. I'm gonna get this one. Grassy, okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to read a letter to you that I received from a young man. He attended the high school here and he attended the FCA. And he asked if this would be read to you, so he would like to give his opinion. He is away at college. I think this will address some of the issues that you've had, what he was talking about, that he wants to say too. He says, "My name is Trinidad McDonald, and I attended Montezuma-Cortez High School for all 4 years of my high school career. I was introduced to FCA as a freshman, as Coach Purcell knew me as an incoming freshman and invited me, as well as others, to join for FCA lunch. I went to every meeting I could my freshman year because of how outreaching and how nice everyone was spreading the word. I was a little freshman, but all the upperclassmen, leaders of the FCA, treated me like an upperclassman and with all due respect. That is mainly due to the Lord and how these leaders were called in doing FCA for the Lord. It was a great experience that made me want to get involved more. My sophomore year, I was a leader and had an awesome time learning and leading and teaching others, as well as making friends. My junior and senior year, I stepped up more as a leader and did more teachings and leadings in the huddles. I've never been a very confident speaker, but FCA helped me change. I knew by doing it for the Lord, He would give me strength and courage to face my fears and do what I was uncomfortable in doing. With God's will, it worked. As I grew confident, not only in myself, but even more in the Lord, and it made me a better person. It made me a more outgoing and a cheerful person. To wrap it up, FCA brought me new and amazing friends and friendships that I still cherish today. It helped me to feel involved. It helped me grow closer to God, and it helped me become a better person and a better version, testing my limits and showing who I am through Christ. Thank you. Sincerely, Trinidad McDonald." And I believe that FCA is a very good thing in helping our children and teaching them how to become a more better version, like you said in here, and feeling welcome and having a place at the high school, getting them there from middle school to high school, and that confidence. I think we ought to get it next day.
Thank you, Janice.
Janice, would you like to put that letter in the board pack?
I don't know, it has some confidential information on it, so let me check that out and I'll see if I can get it on.
Okay, Ian Hyde.
Good evening, everyone. My purpose here tonight is twofold. One, it's to try to provide a good example to my kids, and teaching them that civic engagement is very important. And I think this is part of that process. I'm a little bit nervous, honestly, but still. And I also want to thank all of you. I know that you all work very hard behind the scenes with a lot of hours that really contribute to well-being of our young learners. So I am very appreciative of that. There is not much that I could add to the wonderful speeches and letters already presented about FCA. I just wanted to state that as someone who's involved with FCA when I was in middle school and high school, I know how much student-led groups can really make an impact on a young life. My oldest son, he's in 8th grade. My daughter's in 6th grade, deciding in that sweatshirt. And I know I've seen firsthand as a parent just how it has shaped them. And I do believe that kids come from a wide variety of backgrounds and a wide variety of viewpoints, and we need to respect that. But seeing them flourish in a student-led group where they can practice their faith, where they can engage their minds and develop relationships, that is huge. And I don't want to see that taken away from them by considering lunchtime just instructional time where they can't branch out in these kinds of groups. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Tim Hessel.
Hi, I'm Tim Bassel. I coach baseball for Cortez, and I'm also the sponsor for FCA as a coach. I also want to thank you for your time and what you do for our students. I'm here to ask you to consider changing the policy for us to meet at lunch again. I just wanted to give a little history of the FCA in Cortez. In 2017, one of my players' student, Chance Cody, wanted to kick off FCA in the high school. So at that time, he was asked 3 questions. Why does it help the student body? Why is it needed? Who is leading it? And then FCA was approved after he answered those questions, and I can provide you those answers if you'd like. And that was in 2017. Everything was fine until 2021. Students were told they were no longer that they can have announcements. After the students asked why, nobody could tell us that FCA did anything wrong, why we couldn't have announcements as other clubs. When we talked to administration, they would tell us we're just following policy. So also, and then in 21, we were declined having a table at the 8th grade orientation. Several other students, non-curricular clubs were allowed. Anyway, we were just kind of blown away at coming into this year. We were meeting at lunch. Yes, we were upset we couldn't have announcements, but we were going to continue to meet. And then we hear we can't meet at lunch. So we're not sure what's going on, why we're not able to meet, while some of these other clubs are not able to meet. And any club that you can ask those 3 questions to, and you're satisfied with the answer, should be able to meet. There's 12 area schools, including Durango, Pagosa, Ignacio, Bayfield, Dolores, Mancos. Many of these schools have middle school huddles. It's very sad that Cortez is not allowed to have a huddle during lunch. I know you've said, well, why don't you meet after school, before school? Well, we're athletes. We're practicing after school. We got band members. They're practicing before school. It's not feasible for us to meet any other time during lunch. We didn't do anything wrong to be pushed out, so we're just asking for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, Ryan Pipkin. Ryan here? Oh, there you are. Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, our board and our administration. First of all, I'd like to say that thank you for every bit of work that you guys put in to make sure that our school is a successful and safe environment for our students. Tonight, I've looked into a lot of things that you guys have said. I've looked into you guys' said and listened to what admin has said. I can really see that you guys care about what happens, and that means a lot as a member of our school. To be able to see that, we don't often get to see the work that you guys do. So it does mean an awful lot. I see that. The thing that I was told at the beginning of this year, as we held our kickoff for FCA, is that we are not allowed to hold our meetings during lunch. We're told to do it before or after school. As a band student and as an athlete who's done 3 different sports throughout my high school career, that's not been possible. And holding it during lunch has been fundamental to our operation as a student-led group. I am the primary student leader within this group, speaker, and nothing we do is meant to be an attack towards anyone in the school. We try to be as neutral as possible. The quiet part that I have to say out loud is that this is definitely been a result of some of the controversy that was put between our group and an LGBTQ led group in our school. And the thing that I really want to put out there is that we are not trying to be against them or oppose them in any way. I've heard that. That's not true. We're not trying to go against them. I really try to reinforce that as the primary student leader. I think that, and this is my plea, is that I think both of these groups should be in the school, because on a high school level, these discussions are not necessarily appropriate within a classroom environment, but there's still a matter of representation that should be placed in those school systems in education, that all sides should be represented, but not forced onto others. So having these student-led groups available to students for discussions about these topics is really important, because it allows us to have these discussions that aren't appropriate in a classroom environment. Obviously, creation science should not be forced onto students in a classroom environment. That is not appropriate. It's not necessary. It shouldn't happen, right? The same thing applies to a large number of things, but having these discussions available in the school setting and having access to that is really fundamental. So thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Robin Cody.
Thank you guys for being here for the chance to speak. So I'm speaking on behalf of 2 of my sons, Chance Cody, who was the one who started FCA at the high school, and then Caden Cody started it at the middle school. So both of the boys have been very involved for a long time. And our community leaders. Chance is currently a senior at the University of Wyoming. He is a Daniel Scholar, so he's going on a full ride scholarship and finishing up, I think, in the next 2 semesters. So he wrote a letter that I want to read, and then Caden, who's leading the state in sacks right now for 2A football, would have been here, but he's at practice as well. So again, 2 FCA athletes and athletes and leaders in their school. So Chance wrote, "My name is Chance Cody, and I'm a senior at the University of Wyoming studying agriculture business, farm and ranch management. With the help of Coach Tim Passel, we, as well as many of my exemplary peers, have introduced MCHS to the FCA program. It is such an amazing and beneficial program for a high school student. Not only are these kids being fed a delicious free lunch, but they are forging strong relationships and connections with like-minded peers. Beyond the religious aspect of this organization, meeting at school is incredibly beneficial to a student's psyche and emotional state. This is because FCA is a safe space for students to engage in camaraderie and form communities that strengthen morals and values. Positive repercussions of this include scholastic responsibility and accountability, improved behavior, and increased school spirit for our teams. FCA is an integral part of the student educational and athletic career. To me, FCA was a driving factor of my behavior in classes, my respect towards teachers, and my sportsmanship on the field. Without FCA, I would not have had the same accountability to be better. I have never felt more of a part of a family or a community or a team than when I was able to pray with my football team before a game or with my baseball team around the mound after a game. Even, excuse me, even now writing this email, it brings me great joy and pride thinking about those moments, those feelings of pure belongingness and companionship. As stated above, FCA is an integral part of a student's life. They find connections and friends where they may have had none. It holds students accountable for good behavior and good academics. It brings teams together in comradeship and raises school spirit. Schools do not have the opportunity to meet at other times due to sport commitments, jobs, or family matters. At lunch may be the only time students have to meet together in this fashion. This is why it is so paramount that these kids are able to meet at lunch. FCA brings nothing but betterment for our beloved students, our schools, and our community. Thank you kindly for your time, Chance Cody. I am also a school counselor at the middle school, so I've seen the benefit of student-led clubs, not just FCA, but the Rainbow Club and other ones. And like Ryan said, I think all of these clubs have a space in our school. They do provide a safe space for our students to provide leadership opportunities. And I think that they help students display the leadership skills. Cortez is right now the only regional school restricting this opportunity, which is a great disservice to our kids and our community. So our students are all being negatively affected by this decision. Thank you guys for your time.
Thanks, Robin. Lisa Hustle.
My name is Lisa Picasso. I'm a graduate of MCHS. My kids graduated from our school district. I'm going to read a letter from a 2021 graduate that was an FCA leader. Hello, my name is Corey Likes, and I am a 2021 MCHS graduate. I was a member of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes all 4 years I spent at MCHS. I was a leader for FCA my junior and senior year, meaning I got to lead lessons at our meetings and give some insight gospel onto members of the group. As a Christian, my job is to spread the word of God in his great fullness, not to pressure anyone or make them go against their own beliefs, but instead shine a little light so maybe they can see the power of God and his wonderful work. As of 3 months past graduation, I hit the road and moved away from Cortez. I went into the oil and gas industry. Yes, everyone knows what comes with that. The things I was exposed to in this industry as an 18-year-old kid were kind of scary. I'm not going to lie to you. Seeing how the drugs and money affected people and the evilness within the cutthroat industry was scary. I couldn't change what I was seeing, but I knew I could look to God like Coach Passel and Miss Taylor taught me, and he would guide me through it all to be successful. God did such things. FCA meant the world to me. I always looked forward to our bi-weekly meetings. It was kind of a repentance for me as we all sin as human beings. Nobody is perfect and God knows that. That is why he died for our sins. He is forgiving to those who hold faith. I would go to the meeting, and as soon as I would step into the room with my peers, I felt weight lifted from my shoulders. I felt stronger as a person after every meeting. I'm super thankful I was able to be a part of this without even knowing it would change my life forever. I still read my core books and try to gain a better understanding from them because I never stopped learning. Without being able to meet during my lunchtime at MCHS, I wouldn't have gotten this experience and great mentoring. As a senior, I had teacher aide my last period. That was my only bit of free time. Then after school, it was off to football practice in the fall or baseball in the spring. During the winter, I worked out with Coach Jay after school, kind of like a practice as well. It's vital for these kids to meet during lunchtime because not only is it for athletes to come share the joy of the Lord, but it's for everyone. Nobody knows what these kids have going on in their lives or how things are at home. Even if they're not an athlete, people go through things, and that's part of life. So meeting at lunch is a getaway, kind of an escape for these kids. Thank you for listening to my experiences with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. My best wishes from West Texas. And I would also like to add that I would like to see FCA reinstated. It does have a positive effect, not only FCA, but all student-led groups. I agree with Ryan and Mrs. Cody that we need to have those discussions now before they leave the comfort of the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for addressing the board. We are moving on to our action items. Can I get a motion to approve the personnel consent calendar?
Madam President, I make a motion that we approve the personnel consent calendar as listed.
I so moved.
Second.
Voting is now available. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, action item B, the district accountability structure. Can I get a motion for that or?
I make a recommendation that we accept the district accountability structure.
I'll make a motion that we accept this.
Okay,
Discussion, Kyle.
Right, good evening, again, board. This is, we talked about, this is the work session. We have a big participation in our DAC committee, and so we wanted to set some structure around that. We talked about the membership and what the board would want that to look like. So what I provided you was just an update of that draft that I provided earlier. And I'll just highlight what was actually changed in this document. So local school board is responsible for either appointing or creating a process for electing the members of a district accountability committee. These committees must consist of the following in our district. All right. 4 parents of students enrolled in the district, 1 parent having a student that attends a charter school, 2 teachers employed by the district, 1 elementary and 1 secondary, at least 2 school administrators employed by the district, at least 2 people involved in a business in the community within the district boundaries, and at least 1 person representative of our Native American community. So what we'll do, if this is approved, is we'll take this to the DAC and we'll explain the membership and we'll look at the people we have and we'll start to determine member filling up these slots.
Do you mind explaining what the DAC committee does? I mean, I know it's in here,
Yeah, no.
but we have a group of people.
Absolutely. So I'll read this verbatim as this is what our district's gonna adopt. So each DAC is responsible for the following. Recommending to its local school board priorities for spending school district monies, submitting recommendations to the school board concerning preparation of the district's performance improvement, priority improvement, or turnaround plans, reviewing any charter school applications received by the local school board, and if the local school board receives a charter renewal application, and upon request of the district at the DAC's option, reviewing any renewal application prior to consideration by the school board. At least annually cooperatively determining with the local school board areas and issues in addition to budget issues that the DAC shall study and make recommendations upon, providing input and recommendations to principals on an advisory basis concerning the development and use of assessment tools to measure and evaluate student academic growth as it relates to teacher evaluations. For districts receiving ESEA funds, which we do, it's consulting with all required stakeholders with regard to federally funded activities, publicizing opportunities to serve and soliciting parents to serve on the DAC, assisting the district in implementing the district's parent engagement policy, and assisting school personnel to increase parents' engagement with educators, including parents' engagements and creating student read plans, individual career academic plans with plans to address habitual truancy.
So basically, it's the board's responsibility to give the assignment to the DAC committee.
If I could sum it up, I would say that the DAC is going to review budgetary priorities. They're going to review these UIP plans that we just discussed earlier, charter applications, and then essentially whatever the board and this committee agree that the board wants them to look into.
So for example, the school board might be interested in, a hot topic, obviously, that we've discussed is student attendance. But it also might work with the DAC on how we can increase parent engagement. It might we might use our school strategic plan or a district strategic plan to identify areas that we want to look at deeper or provide some more, whether it's surveys or data or something at areas that we're trying to improve, and the board can utilize the DAC in that regard. It's kind of an arm of the board to say, hey, we need some more information about this. Would this group be willing to go and
They help us get community feedback.
yeah, exactly. It's really, you know, it's really, like I said, an arm of the work that you guys do, but it's also intended to be kind of that liaison, I guess, between community and the school board as well, so.
I just have a quick question. So of these, it says, these would be the voting members, but it says at least 4. Does that, when you say at least 4, does that leave it open to have more than 4 or more than the 2 or more than the 1? When you say at least, should it be no more than?
Yeah, there needs to be caps on.
More than 4?
Well, and I think the language that's used here is, you know, mimicking CDE guidelines,
okay.
where they say at least this many. I mean, you'll go to large districts on the Front Range and you have DACs of 26, 30 people. And in fact, like a DAC would function almost exclusively for finance. We obviously are not that size, so we certainly don't need to look at a DAC of that size, but per CDE guidelines, these are the recommendations for those particular requirements, so.
I still think we need to put a cap
guideline, yeah, but
we still need a cap somewhere, just on how many members are gonna be in full entire.
as long as it's meeting their guideline, then it becomes 4 parents, 2 teachers, 2 school administrators, and
Okay.
Well, and for us, we're also looking at, you know, what is an effective group size?
Right.
For making decisions or reviewing things that would be sent to this.
That's 11 voting members, correct?
Correct.
And then, but anybody can go. But
Yeah,
but these 11 will be the ones to vote.
DAC meetings are public meetings in the same way that school board meetings are, and people are welcome to attend.
how do you see this process happening as far as selecting these people then?
I believe what we'll do is we'll bring this back to the DAC, and essentially, there's a couple different ways to vote for members, but one thing that comes to mind is electing. If we have so many in a group, so let's say we have 7 parents, we'll have to come up with a process of them being able to elect who those parents are going to be, have a vote if we need to, or if there's not, just by raising a hand saying I will be one of these members if we don't have that.
But they cannot represent, well, they
Right.
cannot be a community member and a parent.
Correct. And technically, if the election process were to not work, what we could do is bring a list of names to you as the school board, and you could appoint those positions. Not-
Very last.
Very last. But that's not, yeah, that's part of what's going to be.
Yeah, I don't think that's where we want to be.
Okay, all right, well, thank you.
So what I'll do is I'll make those corrections, if you still want to approve it with the corrections, and then I'll just make sure that's noted.
What are the corrections? I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna put
that at least.
Must consist of the following, and I'm just gonna get rid of at least on each one of those sentences. Say 4 parents, 2 teachers, 2 school administrators.
So our DAC committee will consist of 11.
Yep.
Good.
So here's my question. What if all of a sudden there's no interest in DAC anymore?
Well, that's one of the priorities of the remaining DAC members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of publicize.
Okay.
And this is for a single year term, so.
Oh, okay,
this-
okay.
This changes on an.
So it could
annual
change in the next.
Not
All of them or?
Yeah.
The next school year.
And essentially what we want to do is we want to start this process in April, May, so that we have these members in our June meetings, so we can start in July.
Okay. All right, yep. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Do I have the motion down correctly that Sherry made the motion and Cody Wells?
No, Cody made the motion, I seconded it.
Okay, thank you. There was something wrong.
Do I need to reword anything to make the corrections? Okay, I'd like to amend my motion to state 4 parents of students enrolled, 2 teachers employed by the district, 2 school administrators, 2 people involved in business in the community, and 1 representative. So just removing at least.
And I'll go with that second.
Online voting is now available. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay. Motion for the donation of the Onward, a Legacy Foundation for $4,000.
Madam President, this donation actually covers 4 schools: Mesa Elementary, Kemper, Louis Ariola, and Montezuma-Cortez Middle School, $1,000 each, for a total of $4,000 from the Onward Foundation. I'd make a recommendation that the board accept the donation from Onward.
Make a motion to accept the Onward donation.
I second.
So actually, a few weeks back, I had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Chuck Forth and Miss Vanessa Malloy. And they brought this opportunity to my desk. Essentially, what happened is the DARE program that I think everybody's familiar with. When Officer Rucker left, that program didn't have a place to continue, but there were funds remaining in an account to fund the program. So they were trying to think of different ways that they could still support the school district and not just let the money sit there. So it sounded like they may have gotten some feedback from some teachers and other people in the district already. And it sounds like what they want to do is provide the district this donation, particularly elementary K-8, to make sure that at least one class or we could help, I mean, a whole school or whatever the case may be, go on a field trip. They just want to make sure that there are funds there, that the district's never scrounging up or using educational money to go on a field trip. And the way this, we're hoping, and this isn't, I don't want to commit them to anything, but the conversation was around, we could probably make this an annual thing so that this would be continued for a very long time. So again, yeah, the great people, great organization, and they're just trying to find something to do with this money so it's not sitting in this tank.
So this was money that was tagged though for the DARE program?
Right.
And we don't have an officer that can take it over.
And they were in charge of those funds, I get, and in a sense too, so. This was their proposal.
Any other questions, comments? Deb, whenever you're ready.
Online voting is available. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay. Action item D, a donation from Eli Tomac to the MCHS Athletics for $7,000.
Madam President, I'd like to recommend that we accept the donation from Eli Tomac to MCHS Athletics in $7,000. Emily, would you like to say anything about how this came about?
Sure. We were really fortunate that one of our staff members, Elsie Block, has a relationship with Elaine's family and invited him to participate in our homecoming game by putting up game law, which was exciting. And he had like such a great time. He like instantly reached out to Elsie and was like, I'd like to make a donation on behalf of my family and like to support MCHS like that. So a couple days later, give him a check.
It's perfect. Yeah, remember that. Okay. All righty.
I guess, do we haven't made the motion, have we?
We haven't made a
All
motion.
right, I'll make the motion to approve this donation. Second.
I get the trend, it's a second. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Okay,
Ed seconds.
I couldn't hear, so.
Are we
Online
open,
voting is available.
are we open for discussion?
Yep.
Yeah.
It said on here, Emily, I believe, that this has already been decided on how this was gonna be distributed around or something? How was that?
We've had some ideas, but if we formally accept it, which hopefully we will, then I think we'll put it up for a vote on some ideas that we have. So let people weigh in and have.
So they're gonna be spread around all different programs or you?
He wanted for athletics, but he.
That's what I mean, well, all different athletic programs.
Yeah, he didn't, he was for one specific. He just for- And he said to me, he was very happy. Just doing it and us just. So.
I think it's neat that he goes to the fair every year and buys at the livestock sale and stuff like that.
Yeah,
too. And
he's
it's
good.
Cool. He does that.
We need to make sure we send out.
Well, I think on that day, he also donated to Mancus High School and to Battle Rock Battle Rock Charter School too.
Wow.
He handed out 3 different checks, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But he never buys at the county fair under, it's always ET in the first time I. ET1.
It's ET3 is what it is.
Is that what it is? Something, I don't know.
ET3, that's his number.
First buck sales are. That's neat.
As he should.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right, action item E, the capital reserve request for MCHS practice field for $31,500.
Let you just start on this.
Well, let's have a motion. We need.
No, it's not going anywhere.
Oh,
if you want to make a motion, I maybe make a council approve it, and I can discuss it.
How about when they? Well, we can't make a motion not to approve it, because that's a negative motion.
Yeah, we have to make.
About if we make a motion.
There we go.
There we go.
I move to postpone this indefinitely.
Second.
All right.
Okay, now discussion.
So,
Why?
we've been discussing the practice field conditions. And one of the things we looked at were some, I don't know, creative proprietary ways that we might have someone come down here and revamp that field without having to completely take it up or do something different. We thought we were on the right track. We contacted this company out of the Denver area, and they have this process called phase mowing. Phrasing, yeah. And what they do is they come in and they take a little bit of the top off the field, and what it does is it creates this system that regenerates the roots, and then the grass grows better. And we reached out to some references, and 2 of them were like awesome product. You know what I mean? It worked. However, they were in Texas, and so their soil conditions are much different than what we have. And we've got a 3rd reference, and they have, I think, more similar soil conditions to what that field is. And they're like, well, you know what I mean? It's kind of up or down. So one of the things that our maintenance department was already doing was getting soil samples from this field, the softball field, all of our athletic fields there. And what we found was that typically grass needs about 4 to 6 inches of topsoil to grow right. This was a plug we took out of the practice field, and we have about 1 inch of topsoil and it's clay. So if we were to come in and do this phrasing and control process, it would take off topsoil and the roots wouldn't grow anywhere because we have clay. That's not to say that be the same case at the stadium or at the other fields. It's that particular field that has a plug where we don't have any topsoil. So that information was provided to me before I gave you my board report, which was Thursday. So between Thursday and now, we have this information, and I just wanted to bring that up because I don't feel like we should move forward with this knowing what we know now, because it could be a $30,000 waste of our time. So we're going to possibly look at what the costs are going to be to re-sod that field. I know we were talking about turf, and there are a lot of benefits to turf. However, I want to get some quotes on sod before we make any determination, because $800,000 was the quote last year. And I have a feeling if we were to get it this year, it's gonna be much more than that. And if we can get away or even anywhere 50% less than that, I would feel much more comfortable presenting that to you as an option. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Would you also have to take 4 inches of dirt off or clay off of that? And
Either
Really
that or add
traffic
6
correct.
inches of topsoil.
there you go.
That's kind of what we're looking at.
What's the possibility we were over in Mancus last week for our CASB?
I'm sorry.
We were over in Mancus last week for our CASB meeting last Wednesday. And their football field and their practice field were both AstroTurf, all paid for by GoCo. Is that
Can we do
possibility of doing that?
Paid for by
GoCo, grants?
It was GoCo money. It all.
And that's what they bragged on these fields, is saying this was all provided by GoCo, and it's like,
I'll look into
Yeah, they
that.
said that.
I wasn't even aware that they were.
and that was, I mean, that's a pretty nice field.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a very nice field. No, I'll definitely look into that for sure, because that's an option. We've already worked with them. We're working with them right now on some projects, so it may not be.
I was over there and that was a part of their entire building remodel. They got the school one, so. It
Right.
wasn't
It wasn't just.
qualifying.
But GoCo wouldn't pay for anything as far as the buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a big part of that.
And just keep in mind that even if we would have went with this, they recommended not to do this till the spring. So
Yeah.
I think if we have an answer in the next month or two, we're still in a good position that we can get scheduled to do this in the spring. Whatever the option is that we try to do.
So you said the 800,000, was that just for the practice field or was that for Panther Stadium?
That was for the practice field, and Panther Stadium was about 897. It was a little bit more. This process, I believe, though, and Ray can probably speak to this, I think if we were to test this on anything, it would be the stadium. There's lots of right, oh, yeah, sorry, I thought you were back here.
Isn't the
Stadium field is very thick and dense, right? And so those roots trying to grow in that field are having a hard time. And you can see it in the middle, and you can see it's kind of slanted to the middle. So this would essentially zero it off and then level it with sand. So it might be an option to look at the stadium in the future, if that's what we want to do.
I think you're gonna find out that the stadium's in as bad a shape as the rest of them. We have never, in my, I'm gonna say 30 years, we've never redone that stadium. It's never been taken down, resodded. That's the original stadium from the 60s.
Yeah, there's some.
They just bought them out there, and it's probably, I'm gonna say 75% display.
Yeah, that stadium is in as bad a shape as.
Just faded away.
Yeah.
Topsoil was come down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that stadium's just in as bad a shape.
We'll find out next week.
This is such a big project that it's a lot of money, whatever direction we decide to go. So I know that the high school probably hates me because we've been talking about this for a year now, but it's just, we don't want to waste.
Diligence. You don't want to just need to, yeah. We'd rather know that now than to, oh, by the way, later.
At the time of year, that's not.
Yeah. So no, I just, thank you for that. Thank you for that update. Okay.
So do we need to vote on that?
Definitely.
What was your motion?
Indefinitely.
Could we bring it back up if it's indefinite?
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
Good.
The intent of postpone indefinitely is to
Not
get rid of it,
date.
kill it, but the only other one is to postpone definitely, and then you have to set a certain time to bring it up.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Don't really want to bring it a certain time or obligate a certain time.
Right.
If I wish you knew somebody in the party could.
Postponing indefinitely.
Okay, action, oh, go ahead.
We have two more votes up. And that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, action item F, the capital reserve request for Kemper electric upgrade for $10,881.47.
Madam President, I make a recommendation that we approve the capital reserve request for Kemper electric upgrade.
I move that we approve the Kemper electrical upgrade for $10,881.47.
I'll second.
Okay,
Right, so with the portables going into the elementary schools, specifically at Mason Kemper. We want to make sure that we're prepared to install them as soon as they get here. One of the things we have to do is upgrade the electrical at Kemper and Mason. So at this time, I have a proposal from Empire Electric to upgrade the transformer at Kemper. Their cost proposal was $10,881.47. It sounds like they're ready to go. It's just this process to make it happen. And we anticipated and we talked about some of these other costs that were going to be associated outside of just buying the portables, and this is one of those costs. So
I have a question real fast. We can't discuss yet, sorry.
Yeah, we have a motion.
Yeah, we've got.
Oh,
You're right.
seconded it.
there we go.
Long dog. Past 8.
There we go. We have a total construction cost of 13,000 and some change there. And Empire Electric is paying for a portion. Is there, why is that?
this was their proposal to me.
So, yeah.
As well as I have no idea.
So do we get a portion of that
Perfect.
rebate back? Normally Empire, after you do that, then they send back like 2,500 or something, or once you sign the contract with them.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
But we don't have anything from Mesa yet.
No, it
Think it'd
was,
be about the same.
I imagine it'll be about the same. And I'm anticipating them to be more than this, so I'm a little happy that it came in.
Because Empire is way out right now.
Right, and that's why they're trying to move us up because they know we're a priority and they kind of understand our timeline too, so that's why we're trying to get this moving.
It's a little scary, how far out they're going.
Well, I appreciate their contribution then, so.
Absolutely.
They always help us, they work with us a lot. They've been very helpful in like determining utility bill data and things like that, so.
Awesome.
Stacy, I read that.
This does need to be read.
Does it have to be read?
It needs to be read.
So, or.
Yes, I can.
Go ahead.
Okay, all right,
It's all yours.
it's right this time. So.
We take the right ones.
All right, Montezuma-Cortez District RE1 2022-23 capital reserve request to the school board. Data request October 18th, 2022. Funds available $1,444,680.48. Account 430,800, 4,880. Amount requested $10,881.47, and the project descriptions: the Kemper electrical upgrades identified by needs assessment. Business office confirmed funds are available, no permits required, and the project's coordinated maintenance. Whereas the administration has needed an additional $10,881.47 to upgrade the electrical transformer at Kemper Elementary. Now therefore be it resolved that $10,881.47 is authorized for expenditure from the capital reserve fund.
Online learning is available. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay. Action item G, the grant application, the menstrual hygiene products accessibility grants for 2022 and 23.
Madam President, I would like to recommend that the board approve the menstrual hygiene products accessibility grant program. Say that 10 times fast. Eligible as presented in your board packet.
I move that we accept the MHPA grant.
There you go.
Nice.
I second.
All right.
All right, so this this is one of those grants that we get in our emails a lot, and there's lots of opportunities for these small kind of grants. And when this came through, our grants manager, Dean Palmquist, reached out to Jacqueline Hall and was seeing if she'd be interested. This is an application to apply for an award up to $5,000. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't get that amount. But Ms. Hall stated that typically we spend about $5,000 on these products, so this would be kind of a perfect supplement to make sure those are paid for. I apologize, Ms. Ramsey. She asked me specifically if there was anything that needed to be signed, and I said no. And there is a signature that I'm going to need if this is approved. So with that, if there's any questions, I can answer.
How soon would you know on the grant?
So this will be submitted before the end of the month, and we'll probably know early November.
Okay, so quick,
So
yeah,
pretty
real quick, okay.
Online voting is available? And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Kyle. Okay, policy revisions of the first reading, LBD relations with district charters, KB parent and family engagement in education, KB public information and communications, KF community use of school facilities.
If you have any questions, get with me.
Okay.
We've also run these through our policy committee and they've taken a look at it. I think we're pretty close.
I do. So we need a motion. I'll wait. We have a motion?
No, we don't need one. It's first reading.
Well, I have a problem.
Okay, which one?
And the last one, what is it?
Use of school facilities.
Yeah,
Community use of school facilities.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Just a minute, I'm looking for it. Anyway, just to who they were going to charge. Somebody help me what that is. See it on here.
There is another.
Well, it says the Boy Scouts of America, Big Sisters of America.
Yeah, that's
Boy-
the one. Where
Boys
is
and
that
Girls
at?
Club. It's like the,
Eligible
Yeah.
organization. Okay, it goes down through that, Boy Scouts, Big Sister, Girl Clubs, right here. Future Farmers of America. We're going to charge our FFA. Business school.
That shouldn't even be under other organizations, they're part of a,
I know, and that's what I want. I think we should remove it.
yeah,
I
that
mean-
shouldn't be in that category at all.
We have the FFA dinners and the awards ceremonies and I don't, we need to speak to that. Do you
Well,
want?
it's right above it, organizations connected with voting recognized school functions may use without charge, but then it says other organizations, that shouldn't be an other organization, that should be. Because they're grouping it in with Boy Scouts and things like that are not school affiliated, and that's,
do most other schools?
I don't know how that got put in there like that, that shouldn't be.
There's
All right,
FFA
we'll get it changed
chapter
out.
Yeah,
under their school.
I'd like to have it removed, please.
Yes, we will do that.
Okay, when that comes back for second reading, I'll have struck that.
Thank you. Ed, I'm surprised you didn't catch that.
Good catch.
Okay, well, folks. We'll adjourn this meeting at 8:21.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I mean, thank you, everybody.